Welcome everyone to how to grow your career when you hate office politics. Is it possible? Yes, it is. You're going to find out today. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm an executive coach for smart women who hate office politics. I help them get promoted, get better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. Can I be honest and real with you? In my corporate career, I left corporate in 2016. I've been a coach since then. But in my corporate career, I hated office politics so much. I burnt out and then I dropped out. And it was the right decision for me. And maybe for some of you, you're like, maybe you're thinking about dropping out. And, I'm going to help you make that decision today. And for some of you, the best decision is to stay put and grow where you are, right? So again, I'm going to support you in making that decision because there is no wrong, there's no right decision here. But I just want to say that in my coaching career, I'm so proud that I've been able to help my clients get further in their careers than I ever did, because as a coach, as a teacher, as a mentor, like you love seeing your people exceed you. And I think it's because what I do is I marry the best of negotiation strategies, mutual benefit negotiation strategies with the best of life coaching tools to help my clients advocate for themselves, even when they hate office politics, with genuine self-confidence. So if you are here, I trust that you're somebody who is a mid-career woman, like you're not just getting started, you're in your career and you want to grow, you have ambitions, right? So having said that, let's get started. I want to talk about where you want to go, okay. I apologize. Before we get started, I want to just address some housekeeping things, because if you just joined, you're like, oh, wait, is this being recorded? Did I miss anything? You didn't miss anything. It's all being recorded. There will be a transcript that will be made available to everyone who registered. So you don't even have to take notes. And I did send you a workbook, but if you don't have it open, don't worry about it. Like you don't have to worry about like, oh, what do I got to do? Okay. I just want you to chill, relax, just listen, just like absorb this information, because it's good information, but it can be a little, it can be something to process, right? So with yourself, with your body. So don't worry too much about taking notes. I'm going to send you the replay and the transcript. Don't worry too much about the workbook. You can take that work, further with you after this webinar or while you watch the replay, or if you want me to help you one-on-one, I'll tell you exactly how to reach out so that you and I can have a one-on-one conversation to see how we can work together. I'm going to let you know all about that in this webinar. So here's what you can expect. We're going to talk about the invisible context that we don't always talk about. I've been studying office politics. I've read books. I read Harvard Business Review. I've talked to hundreds of people about it, but there's this one key crucial thing, the invisible context in which women, smart women, experience office politics, and they don't address it. No one has addressed this in my experience as somebody who teaches and coaches people on this. So you're going to hear something brand new today, okay? And then we're going to talk about 3 practical steps that you can take to grow your career even when you hate office politics, okay? So, and at the end, I will tell you how you and I can work together one-on-one so that you ensure you guarantee the growth that you want to have in your career. Okay, this is going to be action-packed, but again, don't worry, relax, just absorb the information. You're going to get the replay. You're going to get the transcript. You can do the workbook on your own at a later time. There's no rush here, okay? Let's get started. And by starting, I mean, let's think about where you want to end up, right? We're getting started, but we're going to start from the end. You are ambitious. You want to grow yourself, right? Where do you want to go? Here we are today. This is the starting point. And in your career journey, no one's career journey is linear, right? We all encounter these obstacles, but whether it's up and down, eventually you're going to achieve your growth in the future, right? And what can that look like? If you're here, I know that you're somebody who wants to get promoted. Maybe you want to become senior director. Maybe you want to become VP. Maybe, you're like some of my clients, you want to get to the C-suite. You want to become a CXO, COO, CEO, CTO. You want to get better paid. Think about making like 30 or 50% more than what you're making now today. Yeah, it's possible. People do it all the time. And you're a woman, you're a working woman, so you want to have better work-life balance. You don't want to be constantly overworked and overwhelmed, right? And that means that you have people that are working with you, under you, for you, and it's working. You have processes that you have implemented, and that's working. You have projects that are running on time, and that's working. And why is it working? Because you have relationships with people that are working, right? It's all working. And it's positive. You have positive influence on these people, and there is this mutual trust and respect with the people that you work for and the people who work for you, right? In other words, you're being savvy, you're being smart, strategic, effective in how you get your work done through and with people. That's where we're going, right? This is what, like, I've talked to hundreds of women, and this is like a great overall summary of what we all want to achieve. If we don't want to get, if the title and the money isn't what like motivates us the most, then we want to have the work-life balance. And how do we do that? It's through these relationships, by being able to have influence in a savvy way. Now, where are we now? This is where we want to go, but where are we now? And you came to this webinar because you hate office politics like I did, right? Okay. Before I proceed, I just noticed that it got really dark and it's thundering outside. So I'm just going to go turn on the lights. So I'll be right back. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, that doesn't look like I'm in the dark. So this is where we want to go, right? Where are we starting? I drew this picture because this is how I felt when I worked in corporate and I hated office politics. I wanted to grow. I'm an ambitious woman, but the path to promotion and salary raises felt murky or mysterious. I felt constantly overworked and I was anxious because I was thinking I need to prove myself. That's how I grow, right? I just work really hard, prove myself, let my work speak for itself. And then I get the promotion and then I feel great. And then I have that influence and great working relationships. That's how it works, right? No. I was often so disappointed because I saw less qualified, less experienced people get ahead in the workplace, get promoted, get better paid. And then I'm like, what is happening here? Well, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And then I felt disappointed when I realized, oh, they're engaging in office politics. And then I felt justified in hating office politics because I was wearing my refusal to play office politics as a badge of honor, right? And so then I just kept telling myself, I need to prove myself, feeling disappointed, feeling overworked and anxious, and just feeling like I don't know how to grow myself. I don't know how to grow my career. Now, if this resonates with you, I think before we proceed, we should define, clarify what office politics really is. And so of the people here, I would like to ask you, I want you to put in your response directly into the Q&A box. How do you define office politics? How do you know that you are encountering office politics? What are you seeing? What behaviors? And I'm going to wait for people to populate their answers into the Q&A box. And while I do that, I'm going to share with you my definition, how I see it. Okay. So okay, somebody says favoritism towards senior management's friends. Yeah, right. Summer says when brown nosers and company people are offered opportunities. Right. Okay. So yes, we use this term, this phrase, office politics, when we don't like. We think there's favoritism. We think people are being brown nosers, right? We're like, no bueno, right? It's like at conflict with what we feel is moral and good. And if we were to just remove the subjectivity, the judgment about it, what people are doing is they're leveraging relationships in order to gain influence over another. This is how I'm defining office politics. And I just want to say, of course, we hate office politics because we're women. And as women, we have been socialized to prioritize giving, to prioritize others, right? Leveraging relationships means like I'm trying to gain something. I'm trying to get something out of the relationship. But as women, we have been socialized from a very young age to be giving and to prioritize other people. Like how many times have I heard women say, oh, I just want to make sure everyone is feeling good and comfortable, right? Like I want to make sure everyone is taken care of in my team, like, right? We want to make sure everyone else feels okay, comfortable before we take care of ourselves. Like we saw our mothers do that. We saw our grandmothers do that, right? That's been like that for ages and ages because in a patriarchal society, when women are socialized to be nurturers, to be givers, then we end up like subsuming our desires for the advantage of, in a patriarchal society, like people who are socialized as men, right? This serves the patriarchy. And also, of course, we don't like that office politics is about gaining influence over another, because as women, we've also been socialized to think that things like power, influence, leadership are masculine or are antithetical to what makes us like good women, like nice, good, moral people as women, right? And I know this because as an executive coach, I coach women directors, women leaders, people who are managing people, and yet they have this like resistance. They feel uncomfortable with seeing themselves as leaders, as somebody who has authority, power, and influence, because for millennia, we have seen powers that be. And until very recent, and arguably even until now, in a patriarchal society where a social structure where men, people who are socialized as men, are given more advantage in terms of power and influence, we've seen influence misused, right? For millennia, women have been property. It's not only, what am I trying to say? It's only been about the last century that women have started to participate in the wage labor market, like work for money outside the home. And I think the dramatic change only really happened since World War II. Right. And that's what happened in my home country. I was born in South Korea. And when World War II happened, like women had to enter the workforce because there were no men to do the work. Right. And what am I trying to say? Okay. So for millennia, women had been property. It's only been about the last 100 years that we've entered the workforce. And of course, like all of these things that we've seen people do that has sustained and supported the patriarchy, like it feels foreign, it feels wrong to us. Yeah. Okay. I hope that made sense. So what I'm trying to say is that we have been conditioned to see the things, the workings of office politics as something that is foreign to us. And we've also been conditioned to hate it. So if you hate office politics, I just want you to know that it's not your fault. You've all like been conditioned to hate it, okay? And the reason why I say that is because so many people say, so many women come to me and say, oh, I could never do something like, you know, ask for favors or become friends with somebody and leverage relationship. I can't do that because that's wrong and evil, and that's not who I am. And what I'm trying to say is, let's question all of the things that we have been taught to think is who we are, especially if it is holding us back from achieving growth, achieving satisfaction, achieving fulfillment in our careers and our lives. And here is a very specific example of how I see this happen in women's careers. I teach negotiation, I teach self-advocacy skills, right? And what happens is that because we have been socialized to think that we don't have inherent worth as women, especially for women of color, especially for people of marginalized identities, we have been socialized to think that we don't have inherent worth. We gotta prove it. And not only do we need to prove it, we can't really ask for it because we're supposed to keep our head down, do good work, and wait for somebody to place a tiara on our heads. Yeah, this is the tiara syndrome. And when you are in tiara syndrome, you're like, you're working so hard because you want the work to speak for itself, but work doesn't speak. So you're not getting ahead and the tiara never arrives. While at the same time, you are in some black and white thinking. And I do believe that this is one effect of patriarchy that's in the brain, right? Patriarchy is, it's not just like a person, it's really a system of belief. And it's like we're all swimming in that water. We don't even recognize that we are. And maybe it's not even just patriarchy. I think it's also toxic productivity, right? It's also like, you know, student mindset. And so what happens is that we end up engaging in this black and white thinking. It's either morally good to keep my head down and do good work and not try to, you know, get any help from other people, right? Not speak up for myself. Or if you are like asking for help or asking for favors or building relationship, leveraging your network, that's office politics, and that's not good. Yeah. And then what happens is that this combination of tiara syndrome plus this black and white thinking has us feeling boxed in the tyranny of shoulds. Okay. So the tyranny of shoulds, think about all of the shoulds that has us feeling stuck and frustrated in our careers. I mean, I had so many shoulds, and sometimes I still have to ask myself to like write down what are all the shoulds that I'm shoulding on myself that has me feeling stuck and frozen, right? I should be grateful I have a job. My work should speak for itself. I shouldn't have to ask for what I want. They should know and they should give it to me. They shouldn't be behaving like that. And if when you say they shouldn't be behaving like that, that should is also like being directed back to you. I shouldn't do that because that's not good. That's not what a good person does, right? All of these shoulds, and I should be doing it perfectly. I should not be making any mistakes in my work. And that's how it should work. And all of these shoulds just has us stuck in this box of tyranny of shoulds. Okay, so many words. All right. So here are some facts that we should acknowledge, whether we like it or not, whether we judge them or not. These informal conversations, maybe you call it asking for favors, maybe you call it back channeling, maybe you call it behind the scenes conversations, but these happen all of the time, almost everywhere, whether we like it or not. Okay. And whether we like it or not, they do have an impact on how decision makers, how organizations make decisions about who gets promoted, who gets that plum job assignment, who gets the resources, right? It's just, we just have to accept that whether we like it or not, whether we think it should and should not be happening, it does happen. And again, work, don't speak for itself. This, I'm paraphrasing Carla Harris, who is vice chairwoman at Morgan Stanley, a woman of color who's in a position of leadership. And she's like, don't expect your work to speak for itself. It can't. It doesn't speak. You do, right? And we also want to acknowledge that it is true. I'm quoting from Harvard Business Review, an article, what is the title? It was office politics doesn't have to be toxic, right? And they acknowledge that research shows that people in underrepresented groups are often excluded from office politics, excluded from the mechanics, from these informal meetings. Take, for example, if all of the senior managers happen to be men, like unfortunately, this is still a reality at many organizations, right? Or most of them, like say 90 to 80% of them are men, and they tend to go boating every weekend. This is a real case story. This is a real example from one of my clients who happens to work in data science. And they just happen to all hang out over the weekend, going boating, right? These are men who have boats and they like to hang out on their boats and talk to each other. And a lot of those informal conversations are happening on those boats. But if you are a woman, if you are a person from a marginalized identity, if you're like an immigrant from, like me, from humble means, like my family, like there's no trust fund. We came here and my parents worked themselves to the bone, right? And so I know I'm not the only one. Like there are lots of different underrepresented groups, including women of color, right? And they're often excluded if they don't have a boat. And so unintentionally, they end up perpetuating their bias, like unconsciously, right? Excluding these people who don't have boats from those conversations. And if they're not part of those conversations, they're left out of the key details, the little details that make or break a business deal or a project, right? And also, I just want to acknowledge, okay, that bias does happen at organizations. And when it does, women of color, people of underrepresented groups, sometimes we do experience what is called a survivalist reaction. And survivalist reaction means, this is something that I learned from my feminist coaching mentor, Carl Lowenthal. It means that like when we encounter either real or perceived conflict, we feel so triggered. We feel as if our survival is at threat. We feel so anxious, cripplingly. I swear I know how to speak English, but you know what I mean? Like people get like so anxious. And I have coached women of color who tell me that they do see these informal conversations happening, and they do see, you know, office politics, and they're often excluded from it, and they feel like they don't have a voice. Black women have told me that they're afraid that if they speak up for themselves, because work can't speak for you, right? That they're afraid they're going to get labeled angry Black woman, and that fear and the anxiety about being labeled that and being excluded from the group, it makes them feel like there's safety, their survival, their basic safety is at threat. Yes, it is not true that their survival is at threat, but to our brain, which doesn't know the difference between a real and a perceived risk, like the reaction is real. I felt it too. Okay. So having said that, what I want to say is that this doesn't mean that we have to stay stuck in the tyranny of shoulds. Like, it doesn't mean that we don't have choice and power to step out of the box, right? To get out of it and to get around it if the box is an impediment, right? How do we go from experiencing office politics as if it is a tyranny that has us feeling like so anxious and stuck and frustrated to an open democracy where we activate our voice, we activate our choice, right? And so I think the key step here is that we want to question all of the shoulds that come up when you experience office politics. And in fact, in the workbook that I sent you, I encourage you to make a full list. Like, when you experience office politics and you're not liking it, what are you telling yourself that you should be doing? I shouldn't speak up. I shouldn't make waves. I shouldn't make other people feel uncomfortable. I shouldn't brown nose. I shouldn't, reach out unless I'm invited. Who knows? Like, make a full list of that, and then just let's take a look and observe it for what it is. It's a list of sentences, thoughts that has you feeling. I'm just gonna tell you how they make me feel. They make me feel like pressured and stuck. And so we just want to uncover that, because we want to acknowledge that the true source of all those shoulds is not necessarily that they are truth of the universe, but sometimes the shoulds have been taught, they've been taught to us, and they've been programmed into us by a system that benefits from having women feeling stuck in the tyranny of shoulds. So long story short, you want to question all of the shoulds, because especially if they have you feeling stuck, so that you can step out of the box and activate the open democracy of your career. Your career is an open democracy. You have choice. You have a voice, because your career is in your control. You decide your career. And so, how do we activate this open democracy? I want to suggest 3 simple steps. Number 1, you're going to vote with your feet. Number 2, you're going to vote for you. Number 3, you're going to vote with your people. And I assure you, whatever you decide to do in your career, these 3 simple steps are going to support you to make the best choice with confidence, and to ensure the highest chance of success wherever you decide to go in your career. Okay, so let's walk through them one by one. Number 1, vote with your feet. Okay, so I just want to address, I think I've sort of explained it, but I want to make myself even clearer. Sometimes when you are a woman, when you are a person of underrepresented groups, you're a person of marginalized identities, whether it's your sexuality, whether it's your skin color, whether it's invisible disabilities, right? When you encounter office politics, and at the same time, it is mixed with other people's unconscious bias, it really hurts. Let's acknowledge that. It really hurts. Like, let me give you an example. For me, when I last worked at corporate, I was operations director for this small tech startup. There was about 20 people. And it just happened that all of the C-level executives were men. And they all happened to be white. I was part of the leadership team. I was the operations director, and then I got promoted to senior operations director. But every day I noticed that the 2 men, the COO and the CRO, every day they would huddle together for lunch in the conference room without inviting anyone else. And you could just tell that they were leveraging each other. They were building that informal network of 2 people, and they were influencing each other, and they're making decisions, right, without including anyone else. Now, this might sound really small, but I think it's a great example of how like some people they don't even know. They're like unconscious that they are acting out their bias, that they're not being inclusive in a purposeful, conscious way. And so when I saw this, I'm like, okay, this is clearly office politics. And it doesn't make me feel welcome here. It doesn't make me feel like I belong here. And then I started thinking, maybe it's a sign I don't belong here. Yeah. So the reason I tell you this is because you may also have experienced the interplay of office politics and unconscious bias. And then it can be really tempting to interpret that as your limitation. But I want to assure you that it is not. It is not your, like those guys behaving that way. Okay, maybe it limited my career opportunities at that company, but it said nothing about what I was capable of beyond it, right? So, and there are other organizations where you will encounter discrimination. And when we don't question the shoulds, it's easy for you to tell yourself, maybe I should be better. Maybe I should do something different. Maybe I need to fix myself so that they will change. That was my mindset. And so that's the mindset I'm directly addressing. Other people's bias is not your limitation. It is theirs. And if you encounter bias, discrimination in organization, it's not yours to fix. You don't have to take responsibility for other people's biases. Having said that, you get to decide, right? Your career, your democracy, where is your biggest growth? There is no wrong, there's no right decision, right? But if you decide that I'm gonna vote with my feet to the, and go someplace where I know I have the best chance of growing, you may want to ask these 3 questions. Number 1, can I see myself growing at this organization? Can I see an opportunity for long-term growth here? Is it yes or is it no? So if it's yes, that would be 1 for stay. If it's no, it'd be 1 for go. Do I like what the company is trying to achieve in the long term? Do I like their mission? Do I have a sense of alignment with the mission of this company and what I want for myself, right? Is it yes or is it go? Stay or go, right? Do I love the work? Okay, I'm not a fan of all of the office politics that I see here, these people having all these informal conversations and unintentionally leaving out underrepresented groups, but do I really love the work at the end of the day? Is it stay or is it go? Okay, so I have coached clients for whom their biggest growth was leaving. And I've also coached clients for whom their biggest growth was staying. I said leaving and staying, right? Yes. And you can't do it wrong, right? Because other people's biases are not your limitations. And other people's biases are not yours to fix. Sometimes when an organization is not getting its act straight, when it's not doing its part to become a more inclusive, diverse, welcoming, open culture, then you got to vote with your own feet. Okay. All right. So having said that, whether you decide to go, whether you decide to stay, I want to, before we talk about voting for yourself, I want to talk about your default brain. Like if we don't manage our brain, if we just let it be and just go to its, conclusions, right? The default human brain has been conditioned to vote against you. Again, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Like, and this might sound a little weird, but it's also true that in its own weird logic, the brain, by voting against you, is trying to protect you, right? It's trying to protect you from perceived risk and harm. And one way it would do that, if you see office politics at your workplace, is it might offer you these thoughts like, there's nothing I can do. Oh, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't help that. Or I don't belong here. Or I can't win. There's nothing I can do. Yeah. And I want to walk you through this framework. Like, there are just 5 things in all of the universe, circumstances that we cannot control, that's outside of us. What we make it mean, our opinion about it, how it makes us feel, how it drives our actions, and the result that it creates, right? And so the default brain, right, which has been designed to vote against you in a weird internal logic to protect you from perceived risk, is going to offer you this thought, there's nothing I can do, and then you feel powerless. Yeah. Okay. This is how I felt before I learned these strategies, right? And then when I felt powerless in the context of office politics in the workplace, I froze up. My nervous system got like activated, but instead of fighting or taking flight, I just like froze. And then I didn't speak up because I was feeling so frozen. And I just second guessed all of my moves. And because I was second guessing all of my moves, I was saying yes to everything that they were asking me to do, because I'm thinking, oh, I got to prove myself. And I didn't make a clear decision about which direction I wanted to go. And the sum of these actions was that I didn't understand what I can do for me, right? Because I'm thinking there's nothing I can do. So I created this evidence in my mind that when I encounter office politics, there's nothing I can do, and I don't know what I can do for me. Yeah. So the reason why I highlight this and I walk you through this is to highlight that this thought here is going to come up, but it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it true. And you also have the power to notice this and then change it. Because thoughts, we're all entitled to opinions. We're entitled to have as many different opinions as we like. And you're entitled to change this thought. That's an option. Yeah. And so that's what voting for you means. Okay. Yes, office politics happen, whether we like it or not. Informal conversations are happening. And those informal conversations do drive decision making behind closed doors, right? But you get to decide how to think about this and how to think about you in the situation, so that you have a different feeling, so that you have different set of actions that create a new result. And so we all hate office politics here, right? And it's okay if you hate it. And I just want to encourage you to think about, how might I interpret what I can do so that I feel like 10% better? Yeah, just a little bit. So I gave you some suggestions. Here's one, right? Okay. Yeah, they're not a fan of office politics. I'm just looking at my notes here. And regardless of what others say and do, I've made a decision for me. I've made a decision to stay here or leave here for reasons that I like. That's one option. And this is on page 4 of the workbook. And you could also say, you know what, office politics, I wish it were different. I know I have these thoughts because of socialization, but it still makes me uncomfortable. And I know that my safety, my survival is not at threat. Right? That's speaking directly to that survivalist reaction when you see office politics, or when you see people have different opinions, or maybe a different opinion about you, and you're like, oh, this means I'm going to fail, and this means I'm not safe. So let's remind ourselves, no, my safety is not at threat. My survival is not at threat. And here's another one. I'm not a fan of how things are done here. And it means nothing about what I'm capable of here or elsewhere, right? This is a thought I encourage my clients to practice all the time. Yes, we do encounter bias. Yes, we do encounter structural racism and sexism, and we encounter office politics used in a way that we don't want, we don't like. And it doesn't mean that you can't succeed. It doesn't mean that you can't grow here or elsewhere, right? It says nothing about your potential and your capacity for growth. I don't like office politics, and you know what? I'm willing to engage in some conversations if that's what's going to help me. Yeah? Okay, so those are some options. I want to encourage you to think through them and then make a choice, or maybe like even write your own. And notice there's a pattern here. Let's acknowledge what we don't like, and then we add and this means nothing about me. Okay, here's one. I've decided to stay or go for reasons I like. I don't have to like this, but I like my reasons. And when I think about this, like when I consider this, I feel grounded in my body, right? And when I feel grounded, I'm more likely to trust myself, to take new action, to support my decision. I'm more likely to clarify my priorities. And when I'm clear on my priorities, I get to set boundaries. And when I set boundaries, I'm more likely to speak up and say yes to things that support my decision and say no to things that do not support my priorities. And that way, I get to better manage my time and my focus. And so when I feel grounded, I'm also more likely to communicate to stakeholders, to engage in conversations. Because remember, your work don't speak for yourself, with people who can help me. Yeah. And when I do these things, I get to achieve the growth I want, that I chose, with support. And why do you have the support? Because you supported yourself first. In how you decide to see you in the situation with office politics, and therefore you created a new feeling for you, right? Feelings are created by what we think, okay? And what we think creates our result. And this is how my clients have created results for themselves, whether it is securing a $250,000 job offer when they decide to leave, or getting promoted ahead of schedule when they decide to stay, right? These are the actions that they take, and this is the result they create. You can do this too. Okay, so let's think about what it means to be savvy. Remember when we were talking about where you want to end, you have great working relationships, you have influence, you've done it in a savvy way. What does it mean? Savvy is becoming a known and familiar entity to inform a better, more inclusive decision-making process. Okay, so you might see this and you're like, oh, it kind of sounds like office politics. Yes, it does. I have reframed it, and I say we get to choose to call what we do differently. And notice our intention is to inform a better, more inclusive decision making. And in doing so, if you do gain influence over another, that's just, that's just unintentional, or that's bonus, right? But what you really want to do is inform a better decision making. And the reason why I say that is because so often when we are in the box of shoulds, we forget that expressing yourself, advocating for your ideas, in other words, just telling people about the benefit and the value of your idea, is an act of service. This is the opposite of selfish. This is the opposite of arrogant. When you advocate to help inform a better inclusive decision-making process, your self-advocacy is an act of service, okay? And this is what the world needs. This is what we need more women leaders to do. And so how do we do it in effective, practical way? You gotta learn to vote with your people, right? Let's remember that in that end goal that you're working towards, you have great working relationships. Why? Because you've enlisted, you have created, you have cultivated allies. And how'd you do that? You started with people you know and trust. Like you already are. Everyone, we are all interconnected with people. And the sooner we are willing to cultivate allies, enlist them, right? The sooner we become more effective and sooner we grow and help others grow. Yeah, this is what one of my clients, she is the only female engineer. Well, okay, no longer, she's no longer the only female, but for a while, for the first year that we worked together, she was the only female in an all male engineering team. Okay. And she, because of socialization, because she had the thought that I shouldn't speak up, I shouldn't make waves, like she wasn't showcasing her wins in a proactive way. So she wasn't getting promoted. Okay. And so she learned to unlearn that mindset with me. And then what the action that she took, as soon as she unlearned, I shouldn't make waves, I shouldn't, that's arrogant, I shouldn't do that. She started noticing how valuable it is to showcase her wins and accomplishments, because now other engineers know about her great solutions that help them. And then she started actively enlisting male allies. She started asking the people she knows and trusts, hey, would you please speak up for me? Would you please put in a good word? Hey, if you in a meeting and say, oh yeah, Amy would be the person to answer that, or Amy has answers for that, or like I've seen Amy do good work, would you please be my ally? She made a specific request, and now she's gotten promoted ahead of schedule, and she's already on the fast track for her second promotion, right? And so I want to teach you this 51% rule. Okay, the 51% rule is a concept by Joel DeLuca. He literally wrote the book Political Savvy, and he studied NASA engineers. He was very scientifically minded, and he observed people who are politically savvy. They're not Machiavellian, they're not evil, they're just really good at getting buy-in, getting people to say yes. And so what he noticed that they did was that they always identified the minimum required to get an idea agreed behind, passed behind closed doors, the 51% of the decision makers, and then they proactively engaged in informal conversations ahead of formal conversations. So I always encourage my clients to, like, if you feel that you're boxed in by your boss's opinion of you, or if you feel like, well, my boss isn't going to agree, or my boss's opinion or their office politics is holding me back, look beyond the boss. Because often the boss is not the only decision maker, or sometimes the boss is not even part of the decision-making process on who gets promoted to, VP, SVP, etc. Right? So you want to start identifying those people and engaging in conversations, because, again, remember, you add value, and letting them know about the value you're going to bring is an act of service. It helps them do their jobs early. It helps them do their jobs better. I was reading this. Okay, my apologies. So start early. Start thinking about who are the people I can have informal conversations with, right? A check-in, a virtual coffee chat, a lunch, a drop-by, a friendly hello. That's it. That's all it takes. Become known and familiar. This is how you become savvy. Okay, so in summary, why this works. I'm going to just remind you of what we talked about. We talked about the invisible context. Like sometimes we have these thoughts about all of the things that we should and shouldn't be doing. We're not even aware where they come from. And I hope today's discussion helped you realize some of them have been programmed into us by a patriarchal system, toxic productivity, even white supremacy, right? That because when we don't question all of the shoulds that has us feeling stuck and frustrated, then we stay small. We stay under earning. We stay not growing, right? So we want to become aware of it, not to judge ourselves, not to make our brains wrong, but to become aware of it so we have more agency, right? We have choice. Your career, your brain, your life is an open democracy. You get to vote with your feet, right? You make a decision. Do I want to stay? Do I want to go? Right? That's your decision because you are in control of your career, no matter who's being an a-hole or a brown noser, right? And then you got to make sure you vote for you. In other words, become aware of the thinking, the meaning, the interpretation that is creating your emotion. Okay. Yes, we don't like office politics. So maybe we start off a little annoyed, but when we tell ourselves there's nothing I can do, now we feel annoyed and powerless. But if you decide I'm going to vote for me, I don't have to like it. I don't like how other people have done it. And it doesn't mean I have to do it like that. And it doesn't mean anything about what I'm capable of in my future. Now we're able to bounce back emotionally and also generate confidence for ourselves to take new action. Vote with your people. Remember the 51% rule. And I think this is something that is like under taught. I think this is something that is underappreciated because as somebody who teaches women how to negotiate for better pay, for promotions, I know how powerful it is when you are willing to engage in those informal conversations more early and often. It increases your effectiveness, right? It increases your effectiveness. It grows your soft power, your positive influence, and you get to grow your career faster because when you're known entity, when you're more familiar, they're more likely to say yes. Okay, so let's revisit the end. Let's remember why this matters, because you're here, you want to get to there, you want to get promoted and better paid, you want to have better work-life balance, you want to have those working relationships, you want to have that positive influence, you want to do it with savvy, smart, and strategic. And I want to assure you, how you get there is how you will be there. So this, like with the better working relationship, with the positive influence, with the savvy, you achieve your future, not by overworking to try to prove yourself, not shooting all over yourself and keeping yourself like feeling stuck in a box. Okay. So I want to give everyone here an opportunity to get started on this today. I want to give you an opportunity to turbocharge your journey so that you do it with the least amount of detours, the least amount of headaches, right? And the most amount of opportunity, the biggest potential. Yeah. And that is why I want to invite you to consider one-on-one coaching to accelerate your growth with me. In one-on-one coaching container with me, what you get is unbiased perspectives, free of these prescribed shoulds. I'm going to help you unlearn the socialization that has you feeling stuck and frustrated and anxious. You're going to learn actionable tools. Like what you learned today was just a little taste, right? But you're going to have them custom fit to your specific situation, to your specific needs. You're going to get a safe and 100% confidential space, right? Like you and me in this space that is all about your growth, your potential, right? Nothing is like too taboo to talk about. You can tell me anything. We help you grow your career, and I will be the expert in your corner. I will be the person who will call out your BS when you start like spiraling in these limiting beliefs or limiting thoughts that has you feeling stuck and not taking action. I'm going to hold you accountable so that you achieve your growth, even when you hate office politics. without throwing anyone under the bus, but because you were savvy, smart, and strategic. So the best way to get started is to book your consult today. The link is calendly.com/JamieLee/consult. And you should have received an email in your inbox already with a direct link. And here's what happens. You go to this link, you find a time that best works for you. 60 minutes where you and I co-create your custom coaching solution. And we're going to think about where you are right now, and we're going to get clear on where you want to be, right? What are the specifics of your dream come true solution in your career, in your life? And then I'm going to walk you, I'm going to give you your specific prescription to making it happen, to ensure that you and I are a slam dunk fit before we get started. So again, this is how you book your free consultation with me before we get started on coaching. This is the consultation to make sure that you and I are a great fit for one-on-one executive coaching to help you secure your growth, no matter what drama is going down in the office. Okay, so that said, love it. We have some minutes. I am going to open the floor for questions. Who has questions for me? And while I wait for you to type your questions, I'm going to take a sip of my water. Okay, so somebody asked, give me an example. Okay, and then somebody else asked, I think what I have learned is that I need to figure out where I want to go in my career. Is that something you? Yes, I do help you with figuring out where you want to go in your career. Because listen, all of the shoulds in your head that are just like swimming around, right? About what you should be, what you shouldn't be doing, what your parents said you should be doing, what society says what you should be doing. Like all of the shoulds is keeping you from your own best wisdom. It's keeping you from your decision-making power. Like it's keeping you from your own clarity. So yes, that is something that I do help you with. I help women clear that muck up so that they get to decide, they get to like be clear with themselves on what they want. Sometimes we have a sense of what we want, but then we have this like idea in the back of our heads, like I shouldn't want that because I'll fail, or because somebody else will say this about me, or they'll make this mean whatever, right? And so we want to clear up all of that noise in your head so you can like listen to your own wisdom and listen to your own desire and be clear on what you want. Yes, I can help you with that. So somebody asked, can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of somebody who took these steps and achieved a result? So absolutely. So who can I'll tell you about my client, Sarah. Like some of my clients, you can go directly to my website, jamieleecoach.com /results, and you can watch the videos and then read the testimonials. So Sarah is one of them. And for Sarah, she how she used this was that she really wanted to like grow in her career, make more money, get promoted, right? And she decided to go for this new job. She made a decision to vote with her feet to go to this new opportunity, okay? And because she's in control of her career and her growth. And she went to the interview and she was told no. They're like, you're great, but you just don't really have the experience that we're looking for. Okay. So, okay, this may not be a direct example of office politics, but she used this in that she decided to vote for herself even in the face of no. She's like, she decided not to make it mean that she doesn't belong there. She decided not to make it mean that, she can't get what she wants. She decided, I'm going to be open to new opportunities, however they may arise. And I'm not going to give up on myself. And that generated confidence for her. And so what she did was she opened herself up to have an informal conversation with the hiring manager at the company that had turned her down. Okay. So she used savvy, in other words, right? And she didn't have a specific outcome in mind. She just wanted like, hey, this is great for me. I just want to learn. I want to grow myself. This conversation can help me. Right. And so she ended up engaging in an informal conversation. And at that conversation with the hiring manager is like, you're really great. You should come work for us. And so she ended up getting voted in by her people who found her because she voted for herself. Yeah. All right. Thank you for the question. And again, listen, if you want to take this work further, if you want to get promoted and better paid, right, regardless of the office politics, I can help you. I invite you to book your free consultation with me today. And in this conversation, I'm going to help you get prescribe your specific tools that's going to help you achieve the growth that you want. And if you're not really sure what you want, but you do know you want something different, you do know you have potential for growth, for greatness, and you're just really not sure how to go about it, I can help you. So I can help you free yourself of all of the shoulds, right? All of the socialized nonsense in our heads that's keeping women from feeling confident, feeling clear, and feeling empowered to have the career and the life that they want. I can help you. All right. Does anyone else have a question before we wrap up? Great to see everyone. Talandria, Summer, Rita, Rachel, Kristen, Kimberly, Emily, Elizabeth, Ariel. Great to see everyone here. All right. Well, thank you for attending the webinar. I hope you found this helpful. Yes, Ariel, I look forward to connecting with you one-on-one as well. I look forward to the conversation. Thank you for letting me know that you booked the consultation. And there are other times available if you are interested in taking this conversation or having a custom, unique conversation about your career challenges and how you can overcome them. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye.